Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we will be talking about these two classic monster trucks. So let's start with the Monster Beetle. This is probably one of the most recognized and popular of the classic Tamiya kits. Basically, it's an ORV chassis, which stands for off-road vehicle. So it's the same chassis used in the also very popular the Frog or Subaru Brat, amongst others. Just with these monster wheels and bigger shocks and a shock tower and stuff like that. The body itself uses the iconic and again very popular Sand Scorcher Beetle shell. I mean, come on, doesn't that look so good with these wheels? The original box art Monster Beetle is red in color with some racing stripes. But I mean, the Beetle shell, I think, is just a great canvas to customize. So as you can see here, I went for a very different approach when it comes to the colors. I went for a 3-color combo, black, white, and yellow. And the livery pattern is actually inspired by the Blockhead Motors version of the Monster Beetle. Basically, I just copied them and changed the colors I used. The original shell actually came in red, so what I did was just primed it and painted in white first, masked off the white areas, did the yellow for the fenders and the sides here. After that, painted the top third black. The checkerboard pattern here is also painted on. So before I hit it with black, I used some masking tape to block off the white parts there. So for the stickers, I actually stuck pretty much to what I got with the original kit. I just added a bunch of different sponsor stickers that I had just to make it a bit more, racy, I guess. So body-wise, I don't think there's much else that I did aside from the paint and stickers. You can see here, I lost one of the side view mirrors. This actually happened quite recently. I was playing with my kid. But that's the problem that you have with these shells. I think almost all of my Sand Scorcher shells have missing side view mirrors at this point. So before I got this car, actually I had a pretty difficult time trying to decide between picking this up or the Blackfoot, because essentially they're the same car. The only difference is obviously the body shell and the wheels, but pretty much the chassis and everything else is exactly the same. It was just a matter of preference, and at that point I already had a Sand Scorcher, and so I decided actually to get the Blackfoot just so that I have a different experience or a different build experience, because it has a different shell. Unfortunately, when I actually wanted to buy it, it turned out the Blackfoot was sold out, so I ended up getting the Monster Beetle, and I'm really glad I did because I really love the way that this car looks. After about a year or so, the Blackfoot finally came back in stock, and so I ended up picking one up, and here it is. Again, I've always loved the idea of a Blackfoot with the pickup truck body and the monster wheels, but I never really liked the box art livery, the design of it. I don't know, not that it's a bad design, but it's just that you almost never see a non-box art Blackfoot. So it was a bit hard looking for references. And then finally I decided to go with Rob Hall's Baja 1000 Bronco. It's a different car, definitely. So this is based off the Ford F-150. So it's not a Bronco, definitely, but it's actually not too far different from the box art colors, at least. So it's red, black, and some white. And yeah, the wheels I also painted black because originally they came in yellow. And if you're gonna have a car that's called a Blackfoot, you'd assume that the feet would be black. So painted up the grille black instead of leaving it in the shiny chrome plastic, and added like a Blackfoot marking there. I kind of wish that Tamiya would still have the license for the original body, which was, as I mentioned before, it's a Ford F-150, but the original Blackfoot actually had the Ford branding on the car, so it had like it said here Ford, basically Ford, and the original tailgate also had the Ford branding there, but the re-release bodies don't have that, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a shame, because I think there are some other slight differences from the original body versus the one that we get now. This is based off the Blackfoot 3, if I'm not mistaken. Not 100% the same, but I mean it still looks really good, I think. The only other addition is side view mirrors, because again, when you look at this car from the front and it doesn't have these side view mirrors, it looks kind of weird. So I decided to plug in some side view mirrors. Unfortunately, these are like soft rubber, and they don't really stick on too good. Static on the shelf, it's fine, you know. Okay, moving on from the body shell, now we're going to take a look under the hood. So the main reason why today's video is a double review, we're talking about the Blackfoot and the Monster Beetle, is because, as I mentioned before, the chassis underneath of the two cars are essentially the exact same. In fact, the chassis that was sitting under the Blackfoot is actually the Monster Beetle chassis. The one under the Monster Beetle is obviously the Blackfoot chassis, as you can see here. The only visible differences is obviously like the dampers or the shocks. The Blackfoot comes with these black shock bodies, whereas the Monster Beetle gets the yellow ones. The tires that come with the car are also different. So Monster Beetle comes with these spiked monster tires versus the Blackfoot, which only gets these basically ribbed tires. I think back in the 80s, the original Blackfoot and Monster Beetle were actually more significantly different in terms of spec. So Blackfoot was probably a bit more entry level because it came with friction shocks. The Monster Beetle actually did come with oil shock, and the tire material for the Monster Beetle, I believe they had softer rubber, and Blackfoot had a bit of a harder kind of rubber for their tires. But in the re-releases, actually they're pretty much on par because they both got CVA shocks, and the material for the tires, I think they're also basically the same now. So the Blackfoot actually gets an upgrade in the modern re-release, I think. So the ORV chassis, or more specifically the ORV gearbox design, is a bit flawed. It uses these thin metal, I guess they're aluminum plates on the side here, to sandwich all the gears inside. Sometimes the plates would kind of flex when it has power, and that causes the bevel gear to kind of skip, and it makes this really annoying clicking sound, as well as potentially it could ruin your spur gear. So there are a few solutions to fix this. So one solution I actually did on this gearbox. So that involves putting some shims inside there to kind of reduce the play between the bevel gears and the side wall of the gearbox, I think. But for this chassis or this gearbox, I went a bit more fancy, and I picked up the MIP ball differential for the Blackfoot / Monster Beetle. For one, it solves the issue with the original design with the clicking, but it also allows you to install a more powerful motor without fear of basically destroying your gearbox. I kind of want to try to install a hotter motor in there in the future. When I finally decide to do that, at least I know the gearbox will be basically ready to accept that. Aside from that, I also kind of want to upgrade the shocks into some nice aluminum ones. But I haven't found the right ones yet in terms of length, or I don't know which one would actually work on this chassis. So if you have any recommendations, I would really appreciate it. Just leave it down in the comments, and I'll try to check it out. All that probably would be overkill for something like a Monster Beetle. But most of the fun of playing with radio control cars is the upgrading and customizing aspect of it, at least for me. The other chassis I'm keeping pretty much stock, since it's actually already tons of fun straight out the box. So I'll always have that option. If I want to just run a stock Monster Beetle or Blackfoot, I'll just stick a body on that chassis and run that with that. Alright, so that wraps up today's video. What do you guys think? Which ORV monster truck do you prefer? The Blackfoot or the Monster Beetle? Let me know in the comments. Again, thanks for watching, and stay safe, have fun, and see you in the next video.